Okay, so we're in another house and we are again modifying the IKEA Tripavalls. They've now come out with a white lockout blind, which is quite nice. We love these blinds for so many reasons, which is why we continue to go back to them. Particularly the honeycomb design, because we now live in another cold climate. The honeycomb design, it traps the cold air that's trying to come through the window, so it keeps it warmer in the house, and that's been really important to us. The other thing is we have little kids, and anyone who has little kids knows that they don't really have very much common sense, and so we wanted to just eliminate any issues again, and so removing any cords. There's no cords, and so to get these custom made for our house it would cost a mint, and we just, anyway, this is where we are. The only thing is, our windows are so long, and so these, they come in various sizes from 60 to 80 centimeters, 100 centimeters wide, but the longest length is 195 centimeters, which unfortunately for us is just a bit too short. And so here we are modifying again. So we have a video from before where we modified these and my husband had trimmed off the edges. So we already know how to do that. But now we have the extra step, which is going to be to also modify it so that it goes long enough to fit our extra long windows. Our windows are an extra 5 centimeters past that, I believe. So I think they're at 200 and this is at 195. Anyway, so my husband is going to take this. We're in full renovation mode. It's crazy. Anyway, but here we are making a video in process. So I'm gonna switch with you.
Okay, so first things first, we've measured, I've just put a pencil mark on that. I've just put it up against the area that it's going into and where I need to cut it from. Again, measure twice, cut once, or measure 5 times, cut once. Make sure that's right. The first step, so we've got a spring inside. Sorry. Oops. So we've got a spring inside, and then we've got the string set up. I'm trying to think of the actual term for it. But when the blinds go down, you don't see it so much, but it is slowly getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And when it goes back up, it's going to get longer and longer and longer. Now we need to make this blind longer, and so at the moment when we get to the specifications of how long it's going to be, it will stop. The string will be all the way up here and it won't let us move anymore. And since we need it longer, we're going to take the knot out and we're going to unravel one length. So the spring will actually start about here, and that will give us that extra length to be able to go down further past the original design point. Okay, so first thing, take the spring out. Putting those pliers.
So you're just on the spring side, yeah?
Yeah. So it is under tension, so let's see. Taking that off nicely. There's a bit of tension there, be careful. Okay, so what should I do first? I'll do the spring first, actually.
So you're taking the spring off?
Okay. Now,
So spring is off completely.
so you see here, it's got a knot on the end. So undo the knot. And then pull it out. Okay. So we need to, so it goes down around one pulley and then back up again. So I'm going to pull it out. Until you do this yourself, it doesn't really make sense. I'm going to, you see how far down it goes, much longer than before, which will give us the extra length we need. I'm trying to get my fingers in there. I'll just use one of those pliers because this string is really hard to grab onto.
So is that a string from underneath?
Yeah.
Or it's the same string?
It's the same string, so I'm now going to tie it to the top. Yeah, again, until you see it and do it yourself, it's hard to explain.
So you've just taken off like one rung.
One rung, yeah. One up and down rung.
Cool.
So again, try to keep the two ends same length. So we don't want one side of the blind being lower than the other.
And you're just putting it back into a little knot.
Yeah, again, it's really hard string to do. It's like fishing line kind of stuff. It doesn't really want to be into a knot. One more. It's probably I mean, in hindsight, maybe I should like glue these or something. A hot glue gun over it. Okay. So I tied it like 3 times to try and get it in there. Okay, give it a nice pull so it's all nice and taut. Make sure the string is still on all the little pulleys. So we haven't come off any of the pulleys. Everything looks like it should. And we're done for that. Now that's going to extend down another, was it 5 or 8 centimeters? First bit done.
Oh yeah, and the other thing was that our windows are also, was it 98 or something, 95 centimeters? 95 centimeters wide, and they come in 100. So here we go.
Okay, so there'll be some noise, but so there's 2 pop rivets because I've got to cut through where the actual where the spring hooks onto. So there's 2 pop rivets here I need to drill out. They aren't normal pop rivets, they might be stainless steel or something. Actually, take a little while to drill it out. Yeah, well done IKEA. Really use some strong stuff. It's not your normal metal, that's for sure. Okay, so we'll keep that. Will be taken off. I might as well do it now since it's dry.
So those are just 2, that's just where the pop rivets were.
Yeah,
So they're still on the outside there?
yeah, so I can't use those pop rivets because they're really strong and tough. So I'm just going to drill another hole.
Is that going to be drilling through the...
Yeah, so when you drill it, you've got to drill it a new hole. Just as soon as it goes through, stop. It's going to be...
So you don't go through your honeycomb.
Yeah.
And then this is the measurement that you're going to end up cutting out, which is why you're going in.
Yes, obviously in from where you're going to do that. Okay, so I've got a tiny little screw. It's got to be from that, so the hook goes that way, and so the screw will put it at the top.
Because that's the hook that connects back to the spring.
Yep. So I'm just going to put that in there. So again, we don't want to go down too far.
And you're just putting it in that little random area that you chose.
Yep.
Cool. That's on the other side of where you're going to do it.
So we've got that hook, so we just basically screwed that back in. So it's just a self-tapper, wood screw, metal screw, whatever you want. Just make sure the hole you drill is going to be the right size so it screws nicely into it and it's got some strength. It's going to be pulling that way, not upwards, so it doesn't have to be really, really strong. Yeah, so we're just going to reconnect. And we're done. So now we've moved it from there to there. Now obviously, even though you might say we've lowered the spring strength, or the amount of tension, I should say, in the spring, we have also changed the length of it. So if you don't need to extend the length of your one, I don't think moving from there is going to make that much difference to the spring tension. It hasn't in the other blinds that we've done it on. But you don't want to go too far along. You want to, the spring was there for a reason, and so you don't want to bring it too far along. It's going to, I assume, maybe make the blinds not go up as much as they should. So it's close to wherever you're going to cut as possible for if you aren't modifying the length. Okay, excellent.
I'm gonna move back.
Okay.
Oh yeah, tell me about your hacksaw, because I know you change your blades.
So I've moved to a 32 teeth hacksaw blade. When you're putting it on, make sure that the hacksaw teeth is pointing towards the end of the hacksaw, because you're going to be cutting down into it. So you want all the teeth to be pointing that way as you're cutting in. So there is hacksaw blades do need to go the right way. I'm using a 32 teeth. You can use a 24 tooth, I think was the other one I was using, which I just found is really hard on this very thin steel or aluminium, whatever it is. I think it's aluminium. So when cutting through that, the 32 teeth cut through that easier. Otherwise, I was breaking the teeth off, getting it through the thin metal. But I did find that the 32 teeth does take more effort to cut through the material that we're going through, whereas the 24 teeth was easier. So you could even flip back and forth if that was too much of an issue. And I do find that the teeth do get blunt. It's not from the metal. This material, whatever it is very hard to cut through. It takes a lot of effort. And so, after 4 or so blinds, you're probably going to have to replace the blade. I mean, you'll know if you're putting all your effort into cutting it. And you can also see if the teeth don't feel grippy anymore. I think that's it. Okay, so we're going to hack off the
So you're just
end.
going to the area that you've already measured? Yep.
Yep.
And the teeth are towards the end of it?
Yes, so we're teething into it. Previously, we've just wrapped masking tape or sticky tape around it to keep it together. I've done this so many times now, I'm literally just going to hold on to it nice and tight because I find that gets a good strength against it. I guess you could use a G-clamp or something else. The point is you want to make sure that the material is compressed as hard as you can, because you are going to hacksaw through it. And so you want to make sure that you've compressed it as good as you possibly can. I mean, obviously just hand strength is fine, so that it doesn't move away, because if it moves away from the saw, then you're going to get tears and other things from that. Okay, so this will be loud, so we'll probably just fast forward through it. Okay, it's going to be on there. Oops. This is a new blade. That's a bit harder. Alright, get out. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting from this side across to that side. So I'm going on an angle. I don't want to cut straight down, because otherwise once I cut through this metal, it'll fall off and start tearing the material. I want to keep this metal on for as long as possible, because it compresses against the bottom one with my hand moving down. So while this is on for as long as possible, that'll add that compression down and it'll make sure the cut's nice and neat. Yeah. To the next one down, but I'm only halfway, if that, on the top one, and so now I'm going to try and cut across rather than down as best as I can. That was a lot easier than the last time. It's a new blade. Yeah, so replace the blade if you need to. I think I did 3 with the other blade before it was getting pretty blunt. Okay.
So it just has a little bit of a hair right there.
But once it's out, you won't notice
Yeah. Or you can trim that up with scissors anyway.
Okay, so we need to take out the two ends on the one we cut off so we can put them back in and make it look pretty. Just going to get back into there. Now, I've been a bit naughty, I've cut that not quite across, so it's not coming back on, but honestly when it's up there you won't notice it. It's hard when you're hacksawing across the thing to get it perfect. But it doesn't matter because it's not going to be seen.
Yeah, it's always in the window.
So you get it wrong even after you do it 1,000 times. If you're lucky, of course, you just move it. Make sure it's the right way facing so it's not seen. Okay, so we've got that one there. We've got that shortened. That's it. So make sure the end that you've cut is the end that's not seen. So if you are putting these together,
Facing that way.
face it away from where the human is going to be looking.
Yep, and our bed eventually will go on the other side, so. And they just go on the right.
Okay, so normally, you probably would go about there. Normally, you can see it's even pulling itself up a bit on that, but because we've extended the string, you can now get it all the way down to the bottom, but it's not designed to go this far. The spring still wants it to kind of sit at about there. We could extend the string longer and do some other fiddly things, but for us the easiest thing is we just put a little hook on the plastic thing, and then hook it down when we want it to sat. So it'll sit there normally, but at night time if we do need to close it, we can just put a little hook and hook it down. Or alternatively, we found we can use magnets. And so I've just gone to the hardware store and got two standard square ceramic magnets, whatever they're called, and the removable sticky hook things. I don't know what they're called. They stick down, and I found that it's magnetic from there, I think, to there, but it's not up there. So it must be aluminium, but there's some metal between there and there, and only there. And so, oops, put that on there, and go down and clip onto a magnet. And that way we don't need a hook or anything. Again, we're just experimenting, having some fun.
Trying to figure it out, yeah.
Yeah, so if that works, we might put some magnets down there, hide them away somehow, and you just pull it down and clip it against it. But it depends on how long the window is. And this is only because we had to extend it for the extra length of window, but it does want to go back to its original design height. So if you don't have that as an issue, then the magnets aren't required. But hey, if you do want to keep the temperature in an extra bit, at least that kind of locks it in and seals it.
All right.
I think that's it.